Hello Tim, you're the CEO of First Giant Studios, and Stormgate is your first game. So I'll ask you a few questions. The game came out of early access 2 weeks ago, roughly. It has a lot of good critics because of the potential in the game. So my first question is, what is your 10 years plan for Stormgate regarding expansion, esports, anything you want to do in a decade?
Yeah, one of the things that we learned coming out of early access was that our vision was so big that it's taken us longer to achieve the things that we wanted to achieve. And so for this launch that we just had on August 5th, we tried to focus down on the campaign portion of the game and the 1 versus 1 portion of the game. But we've still got so much ahead in terms of what we want to accomplish with Stormgate. And that includes everything from game modes, such as the 3 versus 3 Team Mayhem mode that we're working on, updating our cooperative mode, and even expanding to more modes beyond that, but also to the core content itself. And we do have lots of ideas for how to continue to upgrade the races, how to continue to tell more stories in the universe that we've built, and how to make Stormgate holistically become a better experience.
Okay, so speaking of experience for the players, how do you plan to balance the experience for the pro and hardcore players on one side and the casual and regular players on the other side?
There are two things that I would like to talk about here in terms of the pro versus lower level player experience. The first is just the work that we've put in trying to provide some assistance to players who are new to RTS. Everything from quick macros to automated control groups to the BuddyBot feature that do help players level up. And we've got a new AI skirmish mode with this August 5th build that we just launched that gives players a little bit of a less intimidating sandbox to learn the tech tree and get familiar using the units in combat. So those are some tools. But the other side of this is that not everybody has to aspire to play at a pro level or even necessarily to play 1v1. We are very excited to get to the point that we can offer 3 versus 3 team play in the context of this Team Mayhem mode with some different win objectives, with heroes. I think a lot of players' entry into RTS was big game hunters back in the day, and these more casual team modes can be a vector for players who are new to the genre to have a positive first experience.
So speaking of first experience also, the campaign is really important in any RTS. You recently released Ashes of Earth, which is a narrative campaign introducing the Vanguard, but also all the other races. Do you know already, maybe you can tell us when is the next campaign and maybe how many campaigns do you plan to have?
We've conceived an overarching story for Stormgate that covers the first 4 campaigns. So we've got that in our heads. How long it takes to execute against that, I can't tell you, because one of the problems that we had with early access was trying to get too much done at once. And so now we're trying to be much more deliberate about how we develop our content. Our next focus is meant to be the 3 versus 3 Team Mayhem mode. That'll take some iteration, and once that's in a place that we feel really good about, we'll get to refocus on what the next campaign chapter will be.
Okay, perfect. Now, how do you manage to create a true identity to Stormgate, as you did, but while also respecting the legacy of 25, 30 years of RTS, whether it's titles that you personally know, like StarCraft 2, but you also have Dawn of War, you have so many RTS with or without base building, with or without narrative campaigns. What's the balance for you to do something new and exciting, but also familiar to all the players?
There was a choice early on in the development of Stormgate that we had to make around, do we want to try to reinvent the genre and do something that really breaks the mold for RTS, or do we want to build on what's come before and try to do something that modernizes and incorporates the learnings that we've gotten over time? I think a great game could be made down either path, and I'm excited to see what some other developers do as they try to clean slate and reinvent RTS from the beginning. But that was never our goal. Our goal was more that second category that I described, where we try to modernize and evolve the genre as it moves forward. I look at a moment in the development of StarCraft that preceded my time at Blizzard, but where StarCraft was revealed at a consumer show, and it's described as the orcs in space moment, where it wasn't what players were hoping for. It wasn't what players had in their minds when they heard about StarCraft. And I think games go through this process of trying things, getting reaction, incorporating the feedback from that reaction, and evolving and iterating. And over the course of Stormgate, we've already had to do that, and I expect that we will continue to try to take feedback and evolve the game as we move forward. Many things that are new about Stormgate are things that we haven't been able to deliver yet, like the 3 versus 3 team mayhem mode, because we have to get the fundamentals right first. If we try to do everything at once, we've learned that's not a winning formula.
Okay. So you also talked about Team Mayhem. There's this whole Sigma Labs thing, allowing us players to try new features. And recently there was the map editor, which is really important for any game, but especially an eSport game. What's next for modding? What plans do you have to allow players to create their own thing inside of it?
The first version of the editor that we released in Sigma Labs was a very limited tool in terms of lacking any way for players to modify data or any way for players to modify scripting or triggers outside of some very manual text editing. And it was amazing to see what players did, even with the more manual text editing, to layer on top of the world editor tool. As we start to release data editor, trigger editor, and better mechanisms for discovering and sharing content within the game client itself, I think that's going to really facilitate continued growth and new kinds of content that map creators provide to players. So we have a core group of people at Frost Giant who are super passionate about user-generated content, about modding. Some of them have come from those communities, and we're very passionate, really as a company, about continuing to evolve that and provide support.
And now, as we close the interview, is there anything particular you want to say to the community, to the Stormgate players, maybe the potential Stormgate players?
Yeah, I think every game takes time to find its core player base. And I think for Stormgate, clearly we started out with these grandiose ideas of replicating what other Blizzard RTSs had done before us, even though we're an independent studio that doesn't have the same resources. And so we've really had to go through the process of learning how to be good independent developers. And I think along the way, there's been some disappointment. Clearly, we've gotten a lot of critical feedback, but I hope that that group of players that has enjoyed the game and has stuck with us will continue to provide the basis for us to grow into the future. As a team, we are so passionate about the genre. We've put half a decade of our lives already into making Stormgate the foundation that it is right now. And we very much want to continue to build upon that and to turn it into the best game that we can.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Tim, and we wish the best for Stormgate.
Thank you for meeting with me.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.